Are your preschoolers still struggling to sit still, pay attention, and listen, even though they've been in school for a while now? Do you feel like things should be farther along in your classroom by this point? Or maybe you're feeling stressed and frustrated because there is so much to teach your kids, but there's no way you're ever going to get to it all if things keep going in this direction. If you can relate to any of that, then keep watching because I'll be sharing my favorite tips to increase student engagement with the fall theme. But I want you to know that you're not alone because this is something that every preschool teacher out there experiences each fall, year after year. The struggle is real. You see, even if you've spent the first 6 weeks or more establishing those crucial routines and procedures, that doesn't mean that it's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. It also doesn't mean that your kids are going to magically start sitting still and listening to you.
No one seems to be paying any attention to me today. Nobody. And I'm getting a little angry.
Because there will always be bumps along the way. And we, as professional educators, are always adjusting our course to account for those bumps. You see, it turns out that sitting still and listening are developmental skills that improve over time as young children mature and grow. And when something is developmental, that means we can't force it or rush it. All we can do is support the child as they begin to develop these skills. And no amount of bribing them to sit still using stickers, treats, tokens, or prize boxes will work either. And you can just forget about punishing them for not having a developmental skill, because that, my friends, is the textbook definition of insanity. Think about it like this. If you were learning to play the piano for the first time, and let's say you took lessons for 6 weeks, at the end of those 6 weeks, you'd probably be able to play some simple tunes like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right? Would you also be able to play Beethoven? No, probably not, right? That would be a ridiculous expectation to have. You'd probably have to continue practicing for years just to get skilled enough to play Beethoven. The very same is true for the preschoolers in your room. They're going to need to continue practicing while you help guide them on their journey towards becoming successful. My point is this: you're the one helping to steer the ship, but you don't control the wind or the waves. And the way you can help your students develop the skills of listening and paying attention is to teach smarter and not harder. You see, true early childhood professionals understand that learning doesn't always look like sitting and getting. It can also look like being active. You see, young children's minds are not just empty vessels waiting to be filled with knowledge from us, the teacher. We have got to let go of this outdated mindset that's completely false and does not align with any brain research. So I believe that instead of trying to get, that's air quotes, your kids to sit still and listen, you're going to have a much easier time of it if you follow this very simple recipe for success. So there are just 3 ingredients in this recipe, and they're going to sound familiar to you, but I'm going to demo them for you so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. And the first ingredient is music and movement. And I'm sure you're all rolling your eyes because you've heard that a million times, but what does it actually mean or look like? Number 2 is carefully curated read alouds. And number 3 is activities that are play focused. So step 1 is to focus on adding more music and movement. And in my free 7 circle time mistakes on how to avoid them guide, mistake number 6 is not using enough finger plays. So remember, young children at any age are not built for sitting and getting, right? They are designed to move. It is how they learn best. And when you have the right music and movement in your day, both you and your kids are going to feel less stressed and frustrated. Pinky swear. So how do you do this? So first, you add a few fun finger plays anytime you're gathered together and asking them to sit and listen for more than a minute or two, okay? Think about it like this. Anytime you're asking your kids to sit and listen for more than a minute, That's a big ask for those little bodies. So you're going to sweeten the deal by adding in a finger play or two, right? And bonus points if it includes full body movements or hand motions. And better yet, if it also includes props. So for a fall theme, here are 3 of my tried and true finger plays that my kids loved year after year. So the first finger play is Gray Squirrel, and it goes something like this. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Put an acorn on your toes. And I have them go down and put it on their toes, pretend. Wrinkle up your funny nose. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. And I am using, if you're watching along, a little stuffed squirrel that I got somewhere along the way. I don't know where, years ago. And he has this great big bushy tail. So I just pull him out and I shake his little tail as we sing the song. And it's using a prop, and it has whole body motions. Because when the kids are singing it, I have them stand up and we put our little paws together in the front, and I tell them that they're holding acorns in their little paws, right? And so, gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail, and then they swish their little behinds. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Put an acorn on your toes. And everybody goes down and touches their toes. Wrinkle up your funny nose. And then we all kind of lift our heads and do that. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. So that is Gray Squirrel. Now, the next one is called Autumn Leaves. And this is one I have been singing for years and years and years. And I'm sure other teachers older than I sang it for years and years and years. But I have this little puppet. I got it at a garage sale from a teacher who was retiring. And you don't need to look for this puppet. You don't need to hunt for this puppet. You don't need to have this puppet. You can still sing the song, but this is just a prop. Remember, I talked about having props as being important. This is a prop that I use. And so the first time I introduce it, I might sing it with the puppet, right? So I have the puppet, I pull it out, I'm holding it, I'm grabbing their attention. So the song Autumn Leaves goes like this. Autumn leaves are falling down, falling down, falling down. Autumn leaves are falling down, yellow, orange, and red. Take a rake and pile them up, pile them up, pile them up. Take a rake and pile them up, yellow, orange, and red. It's very, very simple. And I have a couple of props that I use. This one I'm going to introduce to the children. And as I say yellow, orange, and red, I'm going to move my finger. Now, I have heard different colors used in the song, but these are the colors of the leaves that I had. So I just made the words match. So you may have heard it with different colors and even different verses, but yellow, orange, and red. So I have these little, for our listeners, I have these little felt leaves, and they're in the yellow, orange, and red colors, and they have been glued to little tiny clothespins, and I have attached those clothespins to a craft stick. And you're going to ask me where I got these silly little leaves. I got them at the Dollar Tree a couple years ago. I do not know if they have them. And they were $1, and there were 6 in the package. So what I would do with this, when I was done singing the finger play with the kids after a couple days, I would put this out, this popsicle stick with these felt leaves, out for retelling, so the kids could retell the song. Now I also have pictures of 3 leaves. So I have yellow, orange, and red. Right? So what I would do with the leaves is I would hand a leaf or select a child to come up and select a leaf. And so I would have 3 children standing in front of the class, each one holding a leaf. And we would sing the song, just like I sang it with you. And when they heard their color, they would hold it up. So yellow, orange, and red. So that is another way to do it. You could even attach these leaves. I just have these paper leaves in front of me. You could attach a craft stick to the back of these if you're afraid that your kids will ruin the leaves. That was often a trick that I did, was to attach craft sticks, and they had to hold on to the stick so they didn't ruin the little props. So I didn't have to make them year after year after year. And last but not least, and I know that you probably all know this one, but in the fall, a lot of teachers like to sing Five Little Pumpkins. Now, this does not have to be a Halloween song. I just want you to know that. These are not ordered. If you're watching along, I have numbers written on 5 orange pumpkins here. They're paper pumpkins, and they're not in order. And that's okay. When you sing it, you can have them all in order. But the most important thing is I have 5, and each one has a number on its tummy, and it's been attached to a craft stick. Now, you could also have the little dots on here to represent each number. It's up to you, whatever your kids are ready for. I think it's all more about exposure during this song than it is about mastery of numbers or anything. But we sing the 5 Little Pumpkin song, and I use my fingers, right, because it is a finger play. Let's do it just to make sure you're all with me on the same page, because we have a lot of international viewers and listeners here. So it's 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate. The first one said, "My, it's getting late." The second one said, "There are birdies in the air." Or you can say witches. That's the traditional way. I know a lot of public school teachers can't do that. So there are birdies in the air. The third one said, "We don't care." The fourth one said, "Let's run and run and run." And the fifth one said, "I'm ready for some fun." Then, whoo, went the wind, and out went the lights, and the 5 little pumpkins rolled out of sight, and they put their arms behind their back. And so that is a finger play. And then I add the props after we've done it a few times with our hands. I add the props. So I have 5 kids. I call 5 kids up. They each get a different pumpkin. And depending on the ability levels of the kids in your class, I ask them to order themselves, 1 through 5. And I have the audience or the rest of the class help them do that. And then once they're up there, they know, they need to know their number so that when they hear it, they hold it up. And the audience also lets them know if they don't do it right. And then I also have, and this is just occasional and something random, but we also change it to owls in the air, and I have an owl puppet here. There are owls in the air, and I'm usually the owl, and I have the hand puppet, and we fly the owl over the top of the kids. If you like the more traditional one, if you're in a situation where you're allowed to use jack-o'-lanterns, I also printed it out so that there are 5 jack-o'-lanterns. Each one looks a little different, so you can have the traditional version as well. And then after I have introduced those 3 songs during my fall theme, now those are the 3 songs that we are going to use during our circle time for the duration of that theme. And so here I printed out a little picture of a leaf, a pumpkin, and a squirrel. And I actually added the words under each, and I attached them to craft sticks. And now these 3 song sticks, if you will call them that, sit in my circle time area in a little pocket or a little tray, whatever you've got. And I'll ask the children each day, I'll invite one child to come up and pick a finger play or 2. And that way we can have a nice rotation and the kids get to make choices as well. So those are my 3 favorite finger plays to do in the fall. If you have any others, let me know, either through email or in the comments below the video if you're watching along. So just in case you're thinking that finger plays are old school and you don't know any of them and you don't remember learning them in school, here are some reasons why they are a critical component of a high quality early childhood program. So reason number 1 is that finger plays provide children with opportunities to practice the rhythm of the English language. It doesn't matter if they're not native English speakers or they are. All children need practice with this. And repeating those lines in a finger play, those rhyming lines, they offer a very safe and supportive way that young children can take language risks. They provide continued practice with English vocabulary and English sentence structure. Again, doesn't matter if your kids are second language learners or native English speakers. All children need help with this. Finger plays also offer ways to practice fine and gross motor skills, as you saw, as I demonstrated those 3. And of course, they can be used for phonological awareness skill building, right? Because of all the rhyming that's in them. And young children also develop auditory memory and sequencing skills when they participate in finger plays. So just in case you're not an aficionado of finger plays, I have a few resources for you. And the first one is a blog post over at Pre-K Pages all about the benefits of finger plays. And if you're watching along, you can find that link in the video description just below this video. Click on More to expand the box. If you're listening along, then you go to prekpages.com and type finger plays in the search box. Now, the second resource I have for you is the Finger Plays from A to Z product that I helped Dr. Jean Feldman create. And you can find that in our shop at Pre-K Pages. And if you need more help and more songs, then I have a fall songs blog post over at Pre-K Pages. You know the drill, same deal. Link below the video if you're watching, and search for fall songs at Pre-K Pages. So that brings me to step 2 in this recipe for success, and that is carefully curated books. The books you read aloud to students matter. They have to be carefully curated because they serve multiple purposes in the classroom, right? They need to capture and hold young children's attention for the appropriate length of time, and they can also serve as a vehicle for learning many skills like phonological awareness, concepts of print, story elements, and so much more. So without further ado, here are a few of my top favorite fall books that really capture children's attention. And first up is the book Tree by Teckentrupp. And this book is so fun. I most recently used it with a group of 4-year-olds. They were all second language learners, and this book captured and held their attention all the way through, and they wanted to read it again. So that says a lot for it. It's also what I like to call a peekaboo book, and that means that there's an owl on every page, and then there's a little hole where they can find the owl hiding on each page. And I think that part of the reason this book was so engaging for my kids was because I have the owl puppet too in the classroom. So they were kind of thinking that that was my owl hiding in the tree. So can't say enough good things about Tree by Teckentrupp. Next up is Wonderfall by Michael Hall. And I love the mixed media illustrations in this book, as well as the text. Very age appropriate, very easy to capture their attention, but also serve as a vehicle for learning lots of skills. Next up is Red Leaf, Yellow Leaf. Now, if you've been a teacher for more than 5 minutes, everybody knows this book. It's a classic. It's loved by generations of children. It's Red Leaf, Yellow Leaf by Lois Ehlert. And again, it has those cutouts in the pages. And I think that at this point in the year, you're still trying to capture their attention. You still need some gimmicks. And these little cutouts really help do that. And so I have them tell me what they notice, and we read the pages, and they look through the little windows. So super fun for young children to read. And again, those mixed media illustrations, I think hers are all cut paper collages. So super inviting for young children and very simple text as well. So the next one is The Busy Little Squirrel by Nancy Tafuri. And you can see I got this one at the library. And it is super fun. The text is very simple, But the story is very engaging, and it's about a squirrel. So I'm probably going to read this the day that I introduce the Gray Squirrel song. And if anyone says, well, he's not gray, he's brown, that's a great opportunity to talk about how squirrels that live in different places can be different colors. So there's black squirrels, there's gray squirrels, there's brown squirrels, and they all live in different places. So it's a great parable to, the country we live in right now here in the US. So anyway, this story is amazing. It's perfect for preschoolers, even 3s. I think we'll get a lot out of this. And the story is very sweet as well. So definitely a must read in my book. And the last book I want to share with you is Going on a Leaf Hunt. Now, this one I got from the Scholastic Book Order, obviously. I got it several years ago. I don't know if they still make this book, but you could probably buy it. I love to buy books on Thrift Books or ABE books as well. You can get them for very cheap, and they're usually pretty good condition. You can choose the condition that you want to buy them in, but I really love this one because it's to the tune of, if there is such a thing, of We're Going on a Bear Hunt. So I usually read that book early on in the beginning of the school year. I read it again when we learn about bears later. But the kids are familiar with the structure of that story. It's very familiar to them. And so this kind of leads them on the idea that books can be kind of related to each other, right? So anyway, they're going on a leaf hunt. So super fun. Kids can relate to it, especially if you've already read Going on a Bear Hunt. So those are my top fall books that really help capture and hold young children's attention. Oh, and before I forget, in case you would like a longer list or more choices or options, I have a full blog post over at Pre-K Pages with all of the fall books that could be possibly used in a preschool classroom. And all you have to do, same drill, link in the description box if you're watching, and go to prekpages.com and type in fall books in the search box. So step 3 is all about the activities you offer in your classroom. And so, of course, these need to be very playful. They need to be fun. They need to be hands-on, right? So the more your kids can touch and feel and interact with actual objects during these activities, the better, right? So your kids need to touch and feel things. They need to discover and explore. They need to practice. They need to implement. So one way you can do this is with Play-Doh. So offering Play-Doh daily is a great way to capture and hold your students' interest. But while you have their attention, why not use that to your advantage and sprinkle in a little learning at the same time? And that's what these Play-Doh mats do. These are Play-Doh mats with a fall theme. And if your kids are not ready for the little extra on the bottom with the sounds, just cut that part off. These fall Play-Doh mats come from my fall bundle, and they are also used to develop fine motor skills as well as the literacy skills shown here. So if your students need to work on their number sense skills, then they'll enjoy feeding the squirrel with this fun hands-on counting game, also from my fall bundle. And then you've got pattern block mats. There's a lot to touch and manipulate there, and all the geometry skills they'll be developing. And the pattern block mats are also available in that fall bundle. And geoboards, again, excellent for fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, all kinds of great skills learned here, as well as the geometry involved. With a fall theme, these geoboards can be found in my fall bundle. And the dramatic play pumpkin patch. What is not to love about this in your dramatic play center? So this is absolutely perfect. If you do take a field trip to the pumpkin patch, you're going to want to do this prior so you can build that background knowledge. But even if you don't, there is a nonfiction book in there that talks about what happens at a pumpkin patch and what we do there. But there's signs, there's hours of operation, there's a hayride sign, there's directional signs, there's tickets, you name it. We have it in the Dramatic Play Center. Your kids are going to love doing the pretend pumpkin patch. That one's in my pumpkin bundle, which is another bundle that I have that a lot of teachers like to use in the fall. And of course, pumpkin science. Pumpkins lend themselves so well to science activities. There's so much you can do with a pumpkin in your classroom for science in the fall. You can even use the pumpkin for fine motor skills by having your kids pound golf tees into the pumpkins. So when you take the time to incorporate finger plays throughout your daily routine, along with carefully curated, high quality, engaging, and age-appropriate read-alouds, plus playful, hands-on fun activities, you and your students will be much happier. That's all for now. Until next time, I'm Vanessa Levin. Onward and upward. If you think these videos are valuable, you have got to come check out the Teaching Trailblazers program. Teaching Trailblazers is the place for teachers like you to get the professional development resources and support you need to thrive. It's where you can learn relevant, life-changing best practices with professional development created specifically around the challenges early childhood teachers face. It's where you can get access to a complete research-based pre-K curriculum that you can use either to supplement your existing curriculum or use on its own to get 100% of your students kindergarten ready by the end of the year. And it's where you can hang out and connect over all things early childhood with other teachers just like you and me. It's my favorite place on earth, and it will change your teacher life, I guarantee it. Come join us at teachingtrailblazers.com to get more information and apply today. That's teachingtrailblazers.com. I can't wait to see you there.